As a mom of preschoolers who was homeschooled myself, I still came to homeschooling with a few questions. I was an English teacher. Doing the language part of homeschooling was no big deal to me, but when it comes to math and sciences, I have a lot of questions. Today I'm sharing with you all of the things that I have gleaned for preschool math and what you should cover, and also some excellent resources for covering that type of material. Before I go any further, let me introduce myself. My name is Sarah, and this is my channel, My Home, Your Home, Our Home. Welcome here, and I hope that you'll find lots of helpful information today. If you have other great resources that you would recommend, please leave those in the comments below because we are a community here and we want to help each other out. Let's first cover the key concepts that should be taught in preschool. I've gotten these ideas from a local international school that my son is attending part-time, and also from various preschool math books and other resources. These things are in no particular order, but they should all be covered within a comprehensive preschool program, whether that is 1-year program or a 2-year program. First, and probably most obviously, is numbers. Both the concept that there are numbers and the ability to count. I would say that in preschool, the average that I've seen of kids being able to count is up to 20, and also the idea of the number 0, meaning that there are none or nothing. 2, patterns. Patterns are integral to math and being able to recognize how things repeat and work. Third, shapes. Shapes are included in many different disciplines in academics, but in math in particular, it's important to introduce them in preschool. At this point in preschool, with ages 3 to 4, I've seen flat one-dimensional shapes introduced, and with ages 4 and up for preschool, I've seen shapes that are 3D, such as spheres and cones and cylinders introduced. Fourth, calendar. A calendar is a mathematical thing. It repeats, it's a pattern. There are numbers of days. There are also a number of days in a week. Fifth, comparatives. Big, bigger, biggest. Small, smaller, smallest. More, less, more, fewer. Knowing how to use these words and also being able to identify groups or objects that fit within these categories is an important math concept. Sixth, logic. Logic in the form of puzzles and being able to spot things, being able to identify various things. This is not absolutely essential to the preschool years, but the idea of subtraction and addition is an important mathematical concept that is often introduced in these early years before kindergarten, so that students have a good foundation for math later on. Teaching opposites. You want to know what is similar and what is different. Teach opposites. Basic time. So understanding the concepts of time, that there are seconds, minutes, hours. You don't have to understand all the technicalities of it in preschool, but just the introduction that there is time and time moves. Now let's talk resources. The resources that I'm going to show you today are a huge pile, so don't feel overwhelmed by them, but these are all resources that my family has used, is using, and continues to use, and we have really enjoyed them and found them to be very helpful for the concepts we're trying to teach. Let's start with something that you might want to pick up, especially if this subject intimidates you a bit, and that is a math book. This is the best one that I've come across so far for preschool. For kindergarten and up, I've seen other programs that might be better for some families, but this one is, in my experience, excellent for introducing key concepts with math, such as being able to subitize, that's what it's called, subitize. Being able to subitize, and that means to be able to look at a group of objects and automatically know in your head how many are there. Typically in this book so far, I've seen up to 5 objects being used for subitization. Is that a word? And so you're teaching your kids how to count the objects, but then also later to be able to recognize groups of objects that would be a certain number so that their math processes go more quickly and smoothly. Besides that, this also just has a whole bunch of fun activities, and I think is an excellent way to make math playful and not intimidating, especially because you don't want to tire your kids out in preschool. That's not a great way to start academics. So, Preschool Math at Home by Kate Snow. It's available from The Well-Trained Mind. We have gotten other copies of this in PDF form. So if you live overseas, as my family does, and you don't have the opportunity to pick this up before the start of your preschool years, then you can also get this in digital form, printed out, or just look at it each day. The activities are short and sweet and really well laid out. I'll try to show you inside of this. And they tell you exactly the supplies that you need and try to keep it to a minimum of supplies that you can find around the house and you don't need to go and get. Teaching patterns. There are lots of resources to teach patterns. You can use tanagrams. We haven't used those yet, but we have used McGrath Math Teddy Bear Patterns by Barbara Barbieri McGrath. This is a fun way to use counting bears that are often recommended, and I do recommend having for preschool, in a way that helps your kids to see patterns, but also to see some addition. There is some addition in this book. You don't have to focus on it, but my sons in particular have not been exposed to a lot of ideas of patterns, and so when we introduced this book to them, it was a great tool for helping them to see with a toy how you can make a pattern and how it repeats. So along with that book, of course, you do need the counting bears or some similar type of object. It doesn't have to be a bear form. We also have some animals that are not bears that we use, but we have a great kit that comes with cups. These are colorful cups that match the bears, and also, of course, the bears themselves. Some tongs, just a good fine motor activity, and also some extra papers that just help us to find more math activities we can do with our bears. Dice. This is a great way to practice numbers with kids because every kid that I know loves throwing dice, and having them count the dots or recognize the number on the die is really a good practice. We also have a sand timer in here, another great tool for just concept of math and time. Calendar time, one of the key concepts I think should be taught in preschool, and just being able to measure a minute and seeing the time go away. Now, not all of these tools are essential for using counting bears, but we do like them. There's also a weight scale, and you can show weights and balances to compare heavier and lighter. Let's jump to shapes. I have multiple resources I want to share with you. The first is this, which is a shape puzzle sorter thing. So you're actually sticking your hand inside the box and pulling out a random shape and then having to match it to a puzzle piece. This is a great way for recognizing shapes, and there are lots of interesting shapes like half circles, semicircles, and forms of actual objects. My boys love playing with this, and so it's a really easy way to give them practice with shapes. Another way to practice shapes that I've seen is really popular is with a shape puzzle. Our shape puzzle has the name of the shape underneath, so when you're pulling off the shape, you'll see the word under for what it actually is. Not that my kids are reading that in preschool, but I am able to remember what the shape is called. My absolute favorite way of using shapes so far in math is with shape puzzles. This is a kit that we got and have used for about a year now. It comes with cards that show how to make various animals and forms and vehicles with basic shapes like semicircles and lines and triangles and squares. So it's a great way of seeing how shapes are made up. You even learn that a square can be made with two triangles, and then you're also just having fun creating something. You can be creative with it, or you can follow a set pattern. Logic. This is really related a lot to the resources that I just showed you, and I would include the puzzles in logic. I would also include leveled puzzles such as this. This is a puzzle company that creates puzzles going from relatively easy, 3 pieces, 2 pieces, up to more complex, 100 pieces, 200 pieces, and so on. And my boys are really enjoying this. They're learning how things go together, but also just realizing logic behind different things and noticing where openings are and where pieces fit together. Another good resource for logic is Spot It. This is teaching kids to recognize, identify similarities. It's also a great resource for comparatives. So you're finding different objects or icons within the game that are bigger, smaller, the same size, slightly different, or exactly the same. And so it can be a great resource for that as well. Teaching numbers. This is the biggest part of the resource list, and I will start with this book that I saw recommended by My Father's World Curriculum. Not the curriculum that we use, but one that I regularly check to see what resources they have. The Usborne Big Book of Things to Spot. There are so many picture puzzles in here. You're looking and finding various numbers of objects, and my sons will sit and look at this book for quite a while. Even my youngest, who is 2 years old, will count out the objects, and it's just great work in practice for counting and making sure that numbers are in sequence. If you are troubleshooting some counting problems, this is excellent practice. And of course, with preschool, learning anything through a song makes it 1,000 times more fun. So using songs to teach numbers is an excellent way to build memory and practice. Some songs that I recommend are Five Green and Speckled Frogs, Over in the Meadow, and 10 in the Bed. There are some books that are available with these songs written in them that just make it easier to remember that you should be singing these songs. My boys will pick these off the shelf and actually sing them to themselves. Another great way of song/rhyme for numbers is with Mother Goose rhymes. 1, 2, buckle my shoe, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Once I caught a fish alive. These are excellent little rhyming ditties for learning numbers. Also, some reading books. If I didn't include these in this list, you wouldn't know it was me, Sarah, recommending resources to you. I love using books. Nibbles Numbers by Emma Yarlett is a fun way to count. 10, 9, 8 by Molly Bang is excellent for counting backwards. 0 is The Leaves on the Tree. Great book for understanding the concept of none or zero. And Hand is Hen by Eileen Brown, where you're counting different animals as you're looking for a chicken. Baby Goes to Market by Atanuki. And this one my boys really, really, really like. We'll read it repeatedly. And then also for numbers, we have these keys with locks that my boys like to try to fit together. So they're counting some dots on a lock and then matching it with the key. There are also number words, so this can grow with them as we're learning how to read. And then they just really enjoy opening things, so it's also a great fine motor activity. Of course, including kids in everyday activities such as making recipes is a great way of teaching them math skills as well, because they're having to count. At this age, it's a little bit hard to let kids do a lot of the work themselves, but as you're including them in your cooking and your baking, then you'll find that they help you to count things out loud as they're pouring things in. That's the biggest benefit, I think, of this is, of course, the relational time, but another benefit is the math skills. And in general, board games. When you're counting board game spaces, that's a great way to practice counting and numbers. You're also using usually either die or a spinner, and you're recognizing numbers on both of those. Let's talk about calendar. The only thing that we use for calendar is something like this. We have 2 of these, and it's basic. It works well. I think that's really all that you need at this age for preschool. But if you, again, know other resources that you would recommend, let us know. Shapes. I have a few really good books for shapes to share with you. The first is Round is a Mooncake, a book of shapes by Roseanne Tong. And the second is Round is a Tortilla, a book of shapes by the same author. These are great ways to expose kids to cultural things, but also just to recognize shapes in everyday life. A favorite of ours, Circle Square Moose by Kelly Bingham, and illustrated by Paul Ozolinsky. So fun, and my son has loved this since about a year and a half ago, for quite a while. Last item on the list today for recommendations is for comparatives. And this is the book Life Size by Sophie Henn. This book features real life sizes of various animal features such as paws or faces or beaks. And so you're putting those onto your child and you can compare their mouth to a tiger's mouth, or the size of something to the size of a car. It's a great way of talking about bigger and smaller. I really want to pick up more resources for this area of preschool, so I'll let you know in the future if I find more for comparatives. And some more favorite math books. Arthur's Funny Money by Lillian Holben. A House for Birdie by Stuart J. Murphy. Where's the Pear and the Odd One Out? Give Me Half by Stuart J. Murphy. 10 Black Dots by Donald Cruz. The 12 Days of Christmas by Jan Brett. That is it. That is it for today. So thank you so much for joining me for this video. I really hope you found something helpful. If you haven't yet done so, I would welcome you to subscribe. It's always fun to have more people be part of this community. So subscribe if you want to, and I will see you guys in my next video. So have a great day, guys. See you next time. Ciao.